The story of Jacob. Jacob flees, faces fear, and wrestles with God. For many years, Jacob lived in the house of his uncle Laban. He worked hard, he endured deception, he built a family, he grew wealthy, but peace did not last. Whispers began to spread, jealousy grew, danger was coming, and once again, Jacob would have to run. Tension in Laban's house. Jacob noticed the change. Laban's sons whispered when he passed. Their voices carried suspicion. Laban's sons, Jacob has taken everything our father owned. His wealth came from what belonged to us. Jacob felt their eyes watching him, cold, accusing, and Laban himself no longer looked at Jacob with kindness. God speaks to Jacob one quiet night. Jacob lay beneath the stars. Suddenly God spoke. God, return to the land of your fathers and to your relatives, and I will be with you. Jacob sat up, his heart pounded. Home, the very place he once fled, the land where Esau lived, the brother he had wronged. Jacob confers with his wives. Jacob called his wives Rachel and Leah to meet him secretly in the field, away from listening ears, away from Laban's house. Jacob, I see that your father's attitude toward me is not what it once was, but the God of my father has been with me. He explained everything, how Laban had cheated him many times, how God protected him, how God had now commanded him to leave. Rachel and Leah looked at each other, and then answered together. Rachel, do we still have any share in our father's inheritance? Leah, he has treated us like foreigners. Rachel, whatever God has said to you, do it. Jacob nodded. The decision was made. They would leave, secretly. One day, while Laban was far away shearing sheep, Jacob acted servants, packed belongings. Children were gathered, flocks were prepared, camels were loaded. Quietly, carefully, Jacob led his family away. Rachel took something secretly, her father's household idols. No one noticed. Not yet. The journey had begun. 3 days later, news reached Laban. Jacob has fled. Laban's face hardened. Anger burned in his eyes. He left without telling me. He carried away my daughters like captives. Laban gathered his men, mounted camels, prepared for pursuit. For 7 days, he chased Jacob across hills, valleys, and deserts. That night, as Laban slept, God appeared in a dream. Be careful not to say anything to Jacob, good or bad. Laban woke suddenly, sweating. Fear replaced anger. He knew God himself was protecting Jacob. After 7 days, Laban finally caught Jacob. Campfires burned under the night sky. Jacob's heart pounded as he saw them approaching. What have you done? You deceived me. You carried off my daughters like prisoners. Why did you run secretly? Jacob stood firm. Years of frustration filled his voice. I was afraid. I thought you would take your daughters from me by force. Laban searched the camp. He suspected theft. Rachel, who had taken the idols, hid them beneath her saddle. She sat upon them calmly. When Laban searched her tent, she spoke carefully. Forgive me, father. I cannot rise before you. He searched, but found nothing. Rachel remained silent. Her secret stayed hidden. After years of silence, Jacob finally released his anger. What is my crime? How have I wronged you? For 20 years I served you. I endured heat by day, cold by night, and sleep fled from my eyes. You changed my wages 10 times, but God saw my hardship and defended me. Silence fell. Laban had no answer. The story of Jacob, preparing to face Esau. Fear returns. Jacob stood still as the dust settled behind Laban's departing caravan. Freedom at last, but peace was still far away. Ahead of him lay another danger, a memory from long ago. A brother he had wronged, a promise he had broken, a blessing he had stolen. Esau. The name alone stirred fear inside Jacob's heart. Jacob sends messengers. Jacob gathered his servants. His voice trembled slightly. Jacob, go ahead of me to my brother Esau. Tell him this message. Servants listened carefully. Say to my lord Esau, your servant Jacob says, I have been staying with Laban and have remained there until now. I have cattle and donkeys, sheep and goats, servants and maidservants. I send this message to find favor in your eyes. The servants departed quickly. Jacob waited. Every moment felt longer than the last. Days later, the servants returned. Their faces were serious. Jacob stepped forward anxiously. What news do you bring? One servant answered, we went to your brother Esau. Jacob held his breath. And he is coming to meet you. Jacob's eyes widened. With 400 men, silence fell. Fear gripped Jacob's heart. 400 men, not a greeting. An army. Jacob acted quickly. He divided his people into 2 groups. Children in one camp, servants in another, animals separated. If Esau attacks one group, the other may escape. Fear controlled every decision. But then, Jacob did something powerful. He prayed. Jacob knelt on the ground. Dust clung to his robe. Tears filled his eyes. O God of my father Abraham, God of my father Isaac, you said to me, return to your country and your relatives and I will make you prosper. I am unworthy of all the kindness and faithfulness you have shown me. I had only my staff when I crossed this river, but now I have become 2 camps. Save me, I pray, from the hand of my brother Esau, for I am afraid. But you said, I will surely make you prosper and make your descendants like the sand of the sea. This was not the prayer of a proud man. It was the prayer of a humble heart. Jacob had changed. Jacob prepared gifts. Many gifts. Large gifts. Hundreds of animals, goats, sheep, camels, cattle, donkeys. Each group was sent ahead one after another into the approaching darkness. Jacob instructed his servants, when Esau meets you, say this, these belong to your servant Jacob. They are a gift for my lord Esau, and tell him, Jacob is coming behind us. Jacob hoped to soften his brother's anger. Night fell. The camp grew quiet. Jacob gathered his wives, Rachel Roll_03, and Leah and his children. One by one, he led them across the river. The water flowed cold and deep. Finally, Jacob was left alone, completely alone. No servants, no family, only silence and fear. Suddenly, a figure appeared in the darkness. A man, silent, strong, without warning. He grabbed Jacob and the struggle began. They wrestled. Dust flew into the night air. Feet slipped. Hands locked tightly. Jacob strained with every ounce of strength. This was no ordinary fight. They wrestled through the night, minute after minute, hour after hour. Neither gave up, neither backed away. Jacob refused to release his grip. The stranger pushed harder. Jacob held tighter. Their breathing grew heavy. His sweat covered their faces. Still, no victory. As dawn approached, the stranger reached out. With a single touch, he struck Jacob's hip. Pain shot through Jacob's body. His leg weakened, yet he did not release his hold. Instead, he clung tighter. Let me go, for it is daybreak. But Jacob refused. His voice strained with determination. I will not let you go, unless you bless me. Silence followed. The stranger spoke again. What is your name? Jacob. The name meant deceiver, trickster. One who grasped the stranger answered with authority. Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome. Jacob froze. His breathing slowed. His eyes widened. He understood. This was no ordinary man. This was a divine encounter. Tell me your name. But the stranger replied, why do you ask my name? Then he blessed Jacob. Morning light broke across the sky. The stranger disappeared, leaving Jacob alone. His hip injured, body exhausted, but his spirit renewed. He spoke quietly. I saw God face to face, and yet my life was spared. He named the place Peniel. From that day forward, Jacob walked with a limp, a permanent reminder of wrestling with God. Morning light spread across the land. Jacob stood quietly, his body aching from the long night. His hip still throbbed, every step a reminder he was no longer Jacob, but Israel. But the greatest test still lay ahead. His brother Esau was coming, and not alone. 400 men marched beside him. Jacob gathered his wives and children. He arranged them carefully. Servants first, then Leah and her children, Rachel and her son Joseph last, closest to him. His heart pounded. Dust rose in the distance. Esau was approaching. Jacob stepped forward alone. Jacob walked ahead of his family, one step at a time. He lowered himself to the ground. Bow. Then he rose, walked forward, and bowed again. He bowed 7 times. Each bow said, I am not your enemy. I come in peace. The distance between the brothers grew smaller. Every second felt like an hour. Esau saw Jacob. His face hardened for a moment. Jacob prepared himself. This might be the end. But suddenly Esau ran forward, not in anger, not with weapons, but with open arms. He embraced Jacob, held him tightly, and both men began to weep. Years of anger, pain, and fear melted into tears. My brother, Jacob's voice trembled. To see your face is like seeing the face of God. You have welcomed me with kindness. Both men held each other again. Their past no longer controlled them. Forgiveness had replaced revenge. Esau stepped back and looked toward the family. Women and children waited nervously. Who are these with you? They are the children God has graciously given your servant. One by one, the servants approached. They bowed. Leah and her children bowed. Rachel stepped forward with Joseph. They bowed respectfully. Peace filled the air. Esau noticed the large number of animals. What do you mean by all these herds I met? Jacob bowed his head. They are gifts to find favor in your eyes. Esau smiled slightly. I already have plenty, my brother. Keep what you have. But Jacob insisted. No, please accept my gift. For to see your face is like seeing the face of God. Finally, Esau accepted. Not because he needed them, but because he accepted Jacob. Esau spoke again. Let us journey together. Jacob paused. He looked at his children, his animals. He answered gently. My Lord knows that the children are tender, and the flocks are nursing. If they are driven too hard, they will die. Go on ahead. I will follow slowly. Esau nodded. He understood. The brothers parted peacefully, not as enemies, but as family. Jacob traveled safely. God had protected him. God had restored peace. God had kept his promise. Jacob built an altar. There, he worshipped. He gave thanks. Forgiveness wins. #family goal. The new beginning. Jacob settled in the land. His family grew. His sons played in the fields. His flocks multiplied. His peace returned to his household. But the journey was far from over. From this family would rise 12 tribes. From those tribes would rise a nation. And from that nation would come a promise. A promise for the whole world. Jacob began life as a deceiver. A man who tricked others. A man who ran from consequences. But through struggle, through hardship, through encounters with God, Jacob became Israel. A man transformed. A man blessed. A man remembered forever. Because sometimes God must wrestle with us before he can change us. God changes us through struggles. Jacob wrestled through the night and came out changed. Lesson: growth often comes through struggle. Spiritual truth: God transforms us through challenges. Forgiveness is more powerful than revenge. Esau had every reason to seek revenge but chose forgiveness. Lesson: forgiveness restores relationships. Spiritual truths: letting go of anger brings healing. Prayer prepares us for difficult moments. Jacob prayed before facing Esau. Lesson: prayer builds courage. Spiritual truth: God strengthens those who seek him. God keeps his promises. God protected Jacob from Laban and from Esau. Lesson: God is faithful even when we are afraid. Obedience to God requires courage. When God told Jacob to return home, he had to face his greatest fear: his brother Esau. Lesson: obeying God is not always easy, but it leads to protection and purpose. Spiritual truth: faith means moving forward even when fear is present. Jacob obeyed God even when fear stood in his path. God protects those who trust him. When Laban chased Jacob, God warned Laban in a dream not to harm him. Lesson: God can protect us even when enemies pursue us. Spiritual truth: God's presence is stronger than any threat. Even in danger, God stood as Jacob's shield. Prayer brings strength in times of fear. Before meeting Esau, Jacob prayed honestly and humbly. Lesson: prayer prepares the heart for difficult situations. Spiritual truth: God listens when we cry out in fear. Before facing his brother, Jacob faced God. Struggles can lead to transformation. Jacob wrestled through the night and received a new name, Israel. Lesson: struggles are often the doorway to change. Spiritual truth: God sometimes allows battles to reshape our identity. Jacob wrestled as a man but rose as Israel. God changes our identity when we surrender. Jacob's name changed from Jacob Deceiver to Israel, one who wrestles with God. Lesson: God can give us a new beginning. Spiritual truth: our past does not define our future. God changed Jacob's name and changed his destiny. Forgiveness heals broken relationships. Instead of attacking Jacob, Esau embraced him. Years of anger ended in tears of reconciliation. Lesson: forgiveness restores what anger destroys. Spiritual truth: healing begins when we release bitterness. Where revenge could have ruled, forgiveness prevailed. Humility opens the door to peace. Jacob bowed 7 times before Esau. He approached with humility, not pride. Lesson: humility helps restore broken relationships. Spiritual truth: God honors those who humble themselves. God keeps his promises across time. From Abraham to Isaac to Jacob, God remained faithful. Even through fear and failure, his promise continued. Lesson: God's promises never fail. Spiritual truth: God finishes what he begins. Big overall lesson from Jacob: this story teaches that God protects his people. Prayer prepares us for battle. Struggles change us. Forgiveness restores relationships. God gives new beginnings. Jacob ran from fear, but God led him into transformation. He wrestled through the night and rose with a new name. He feared his brother, but found forgiveness instead of revenge. Because when God is with you, your past does not control your future. And when forgiveness replaces anger, peace becomes possible. Let everything that has breath praise the Lord. Please subscribe to this channel for more videos. Thanks for watching.